Hi there guys, so first of all, apparently there is going to be a decision being made next week about Anthony Joshua's fight with Kubrat Pulev. Obviously the fight is scheduled to take place on June 20, but that is uncertain due to the coronavirus pandemic. So we will know more next week about whether this fight is going to go ahead. But I think we can expect this fight to be postponed. I think it is for the best interest for fight fans, for boxers, for everyone involved with these events. And I don't think it's going to be opened up that soon. Like, things aren't going to go back to normal that soon. And even if they do, I don't think it's a good idea to have a mass gathering of people straight after it just to fuel something that could happen again. So ultimately, I think things will be on hold this side of July, at least, because things need to go back to normal, things need to be sorted out, and everyone's best interest needs to be at the forefront of everyone's decisions going forward, especially for an event like this that would bring about mass gatherings of people. Now, Eddie Hearn has explained when this fight does happen, when Anthony Joshua does lace up the gloves and get in there with Kubrat Pulev, it will be the same Anthony Joshua that we saw early on in his career, a more destructive Anthony Joshua than we saw in the Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch. He will be back looking for those knockouts and trying to knock Kubrat Pulev out. Now, obviously, Anthony Joshua is a different fighter. He's changed after that Andy Ruiz Jr. experience, and I believe he has changed for the better. So I think what he will do, as opposed to going in there and trying to blow Kubrat Pulev away, I think what he will do is try and break him down. Make sure that Kubrat Pulev is ready to go, because the last thing he wants to do is hurt him, back him up, and walk onto one, because that obviously would show he hasn't learned from the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight. So what he will do, I believe, is break Kubrat Pulev down. Now, Kubrat Pulev is 38. Anthony Joshua is 30 years old. So Anthony Joshua clearly is the younger, fresher fighter. But still, Kubrat Pulev is very skilled, and he hasn't shown really any signs of his age bothering him, because he's always been a slower fighter, slower on his feet. But still, Kubrat Pulev hasn't shown any signs of aging. He's not much slower with his hand speed, and he's not much slower with his feet anyway, because he's always been a bit slow in those departments anyway. So Kubrat Pulev isn't much different now to what he was a couple of years ago, because those have never been Kubrat Pulev's strengths anyway. His strengths are boxing, jabbing, and setting something up with that jab, bringing in the right hand. His positioning is very good, and his timing is very good as well. Kubrat Pulev is that kind of fighter, and his style does age well. So I don't think age is going to be a big factor in this fight, other than the fact that Anthony Joshua is going to have the freshness on his side. But I don't think it will count for too much, especially in this fight, because, as I said, Kubrat Pulev hasn't really shown any signs of his age bothering him in his previous fights. And mind you, they have been against lower level oppositions, but still, I just don't think that Kubrat Pulev is the kind of guy who's going to tire or anything like that in the fight. He won't really show his age too much because, as I said, his style, his boxing style, does age well, because if you have fast reflexes, fast hands, and have fast feet and work off of reflexes and countering shots, then obviously that style doesn't necessarily age well, because your timing goes and you're not as fast as you once were when you're, say, 25, 26, or even 30, when you are getting on for 40. But Kubrat Pulev, as I said, doesn't rely on that. So I don't believe his age will be too much of a factor going into this fight. I think that Kubrat Pulev now is just as good as he ever has been. Now, obviously, Eddie Hearn is the one who has explained that Anthony Joshua will be more destructive in this fight. He will look to break Kubrat Pulev down before knocking him out. This is what Eddie Hearn had to say. Anthony had a great year last year in many ways. He fought at Madison Square Garden in New York and then Saudi Arabia. But now he's back at Spurs in a great stadium. I'm feeling nervous for him because it is a big homecoming with big pressure. Saudi was low-key where he was removed from all of that pressure. It worked quite well for him. Now, people will say, let's see the old AJ and the big knockouts. But I think we'll see a great fight against Pulev. So obviously Eddie Hearn is expecting the fans to almost demand a knockout from AJ, expect them to be more devastating and get back to those knockouts that he had earlier on in his career. Obviously, he hasn't knocked anyone out since Alexander Povetkin, but then again, he's only had 2 fights since then. So Anthony Joshua will want to get back to knocking guys out, because only 2 people have ever gone the distance with Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz Jr. and Joseph Parker. So Anthony Joshua is a knockout puncher. He can knock fighters out. And I do believe that Anthony Joshua will knock Kubrat Pulev out. But obviously, again, you could mirror this to the situation with Andy Ruiz Jr. Andy Ruiz Jr. was a guy who came in late, and Anthony Joshua was expected to knock him out. People wanted him to do that. Eddie Hearn said, Anthony Joshua must be destructive, make a statement and knock him out. But ultimately, that didn't work out so well at Madison Square Garden. And that was because Anthony Joshua let his guard down for a little bit. He cannot do that against Kubrat Pulev, and I don't think he will ever again. I think that was a good learning curve for Anthony Joshua. And I believe it will serve him well going forward into fights with Kubrat Pulev, with Alexander Usyk, and definitely the big one with Tyson Fury, if that fight ever does happen. So Anthony Joshua in this fight with Kubrat Pulev, because that's the guy he must come through first. We can't talk about Undisputed. We can't even talk about the next fight against Alexander Usyk, or maybe Derek Chisora, depending on what happens between Chisora and Usyk in that fight. But ultimately, Anthony Joshua will face either Derek Chisora, probably, or Alexander Usyk after Kubrat Pulev. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter about that. What matters is that Anthony Joshua comes through Pulev, and Pulev is not coming to lay down. He wants to win this fight. He is coming to win. I mean, this is his last opportunity at a world title and to earn the big bucks on the big stage. He's not going to want to squander this opportunity, so Anthony Joshua must be on his A game in order to beat Kubrat Pulev. At the moment, guys, June 20 is the date. I believe that date will be moved back because of everything that is going on currently, and I think it will be the best thing for the fight, for the fans, for everyone involved. So I think that fight will be moved back, and I think it will be July 25th, I think is the date they are looking at. But I believe that maybe that date could be too soon as well. I think, in my personal opinion, boxing will resume in August sort of time. And yes, I know that's a long time away, but I just think that is what is going to happen going forward for boxing. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev. Eddie Hearn believes that Anthony Joshua will be expected to knock out Kubrat Pulev in devastating fashion whenever they are able to get in the ring. Guys, drop your thoughts in the comments below, click your thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.